This is a live presentation of the Titan Upload Network. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. We are part of the Titan Upload Network, and welcome to this Wild Card Weekend, Monday night. We're coming to the tail end of Wild Card Weekend, and very exciting weekend of football. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and a lot of news dropped, especially in the afternoon, so very excited to get to all that. But first, getting to our special guest tonight, helping us cap off the Wild Card Weekend, of course, it's our good friend from Dudes Discussing Ports, Bradley Newberry. And of course, Brad, welcome to the Power Hour.
Hello. Glad to be here and happy to have a team that participated in Super Wild Card Weekend. We'll get to that later.
We will definitely get to that later. One of the best games, I think, of Wild Card Weekend. But Bradley, a lot of news coming over the wire, especially for a Monday evening, for a lot of teams starting their offseason. And just to jump to a few notes of point, the Arizona Cardinals have officially made it official. They have hired as their GM Monty Ossenfort, one of the Tennessee Titans, behind the curtains kind of guy. So getting his first official job as a GM. So do you think it's a good fit for the Cardinals?
I'm not really sure what's going to be a good fit for the Cardinals, to be honest with you. We know that they're stuck with Kyler Murray. Sure. This gentleman has to love or like Kyler Murray because he's got no other options at this point here. I found interesting to have learned more that, this gentleman was with the Patriots, came over here to the Titans with the move, John Robinson. For the Titans' sake, it may be okay. Because I can't get a real, you'll have a better feel for this than I do, but I can't get a real feel yet if they want to go in a completely different direction or if this would have been the easiest fit, the easiest, let's continue what we have going with Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Mike Vrabel. I think it allows them to be more creative, at least for the Titans side, but I think the Cardinals are getting a good guy.
And I agree with that. And you bring up the Patriot ties, which is an interesting point to bring up. Realistically, still in the head coaching market, looking for a new head coach. Gerard Mayo right now, still in discussions, potentially could be a candidate. Brian Flores was very familiar with Ossenfort, so he could be an option as well. So do you think that maybe potentially some Patriot ties might be the way for the Cardinals to go?
I think it's the easy way for the Cardinals to go. It makes sense, right? I mean, that's what happened here in Nashville, Tennessee with the Titans. And it's not a bad thing, I don't think, Mike. I think that's easier transition. I mean, look, if you want to model yourself after the Patriots and Titans, you could definitely model yourself after worse teams than that. So it's not a bad thing if that's the groupthink around Arizona's ownership.
No doubt about that. In a copycat league, sometimes you have to look at success and build from that type of mold.
No doubt. Yeah, do it.
But also another interesting point of news we wanted to get to. Jim Harbaugh apparently is out of the running once again. Unfortunately, NFL teams that had him on their wish list, it looks like that won't be happening as Michigan has locked him up once again. So, Brad, I guess we're going to have to wait till the 2024 offseason now.
One more time. One more roll of the dice with Michigan and their horrible defense. But Harbaugh puts out a tweet. All of a sudden, he's in love again, Mike. I've always loved you. I love you. Go Big Blue. Money buys happiness in some cases. And you and I believe that's what may have happened here.
And I think that's a safe assumption. I mean, let's be honest. He loved Stanford a while. Then the 49ers definitely showed him a little more love, apparently.
Yep, they did. And I had some notes written on this. I thought that the Denver Broncos courting Harbaugh was not the worst of ideas. I mean,
Agreed.
this guy knows how to build an offensive line. He builds a pretty good run game. And I highlighted Stanford, the 49ers, Michigan, with all those things. And I bring up offensive line and run game because, look, Denver's married to Russell Wilson. You're not getting out of that relationship.
Yeah.
So how do you try to compete with said quarterback in that division is keep the ball away from Mahomes. You keep the ball away from Herbert. Maybe you hope that Herbert's coach stays around. but that's not gonna happen, I guess, with Harbaugh. And good luck in Michigan. I mean, I guess you can win the B1G, maybe, but Ohio State has other words for you.
Agreed. And Michigan, what? That's 6 years in a row that they've lost a bowl game now under Harbaugh.
That feels about right. I don't know anything positive to say for them in the bowl games. Yep.
Well, if that's an investment they want to continue to invest in, then, go blue.
Why not?
But in Harbaugh's case, I guess it was go green.
Take that green. That's right.
Well, Brad, what do you say we get into our top news segment heading into the week?
All right. Fire it up.
So much to get to. Everybody in the chat, welcoming everybody real quick. Shout out to Mom. Always love you, mean it. Great seeing you on the show. Lou Man, of course. We're going to get some good comments from Lou Man.
I have some notes about you, Lou Man. Don't you
We're definitely going to have a good show tonight. Everybody's in. Shout out to everybody getting into the show. I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour, and let's jump into the top news. Let's jump back into the top news. We're jumping out. There we go. Jumping into the top news. And to start out with our first segment, if I can see it. There we are. There you are. Already getting bugs. All right. So the first segment, the Miami Dolphins seem to be that they're going to hold on to Tua Tagovailoa for the unforeseeable future. Of course, things change, especially when looking for other players in the draft. But right now, it appears that Miami is going to tie their wagon to Tua for the moment right now. So, Bradley, is this a good move for the Dolphins, or should they really just try and find a better solution?
Let's start with the facts before I give an opinion. Coach McDaniel came out and said he expects Tua to return as the starter in 2023. Tua's not going anywhere based on what he's saying here. He's also expecting there not to be much or any change at all in the offices or the structure of the Miami Dolphins. Hearing this and believing this, that Tua will be back, I don't think that he can play an entire season, Mike. I think that the Miami Dolphins cannot go into next season with Teddy Bridgewater or Skylar Thompson, bless him, and his rookie efforts, especially in a game we'll talk about later. They cannot have that as their insurance policy. Miami Dolphins, you are in the market for a starting quarterback because I believe you need two. If you're going to take Tua into 2023, you need another starting caliber quarterback. What do you think?
I agree with that point. I mean, the injuries piled up pretty heavily on Tua's side, and it's unfortunate, especially getting out to a hot start, but basically he fell like an ice cube on the floor under the sink. So at this point right now, it would behoove the Dolphins going forward to try and find somebody that's more of a viable option. I've always felt Tua was just too undersized. As strong as an arm as he has, I just think he's really just a one-trick pony as it goes to quarterbacks. I don't think he's the best of runner. I don't think realistically he has the best accuracy right now. Even with Mike McDaniel as good as an offensive-minded coach as he is, I think Tua's just one of those guys that really just has maybe 3 good tools at best as a quarterback. So from your vantage point, what would you think would be the best option for the Dolphins to go and get a quarterback? Should they draft, or with a heavy free agent market looming, is that somewhere they should reach right now with one of the veteran quarterbacks being available?
I'm leaning towards veteran, and I'm leaning towards the higher end veteran, to be honest with you. They tried veteran for backup with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, this guy gets injured every game, it seems like. And then they drafted or have Skylar Thompson. I mean, that's fine to have on the roster, but with the way and the money, the way they've built this roster this past offseason and the money they have invested, they've got to go for it now, I believe. So drafting a quarterback does not make sense yet. I think they have to think high-end free agent quarterback, starting caliber.
So, out of all the quarterbacks that would potentially be on the market, who do you think would be the best fit for the Dolphins?
I don't know that the Titans fans want to hear this name. And he's not really in the free agent market. I'm leaning Lamar Jackson. What do you think?
That's well, I would say that'd be an interesting take there, but
I mean, we've got throwing ability, we have the movability, which mirrors Tua when healthy.
Yes, unhealthy.
I mean, that's just the first name I thought. The Tom Brady thing doesn't make sense because they're too different. That's what I'm leaning Lamar. That's gonna. I'll go with it.
Lamar Jackson's an interesting pick right there, but we take into consideration, still under contract,
Right.
and more than likely the Baltimore Ravens are going to lock the franchise tag on him,
Yeah.
which is an expensive one at that, which I believe would be about $47
in just a minute.
But definitely get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But one name that I would consider, and I think that's very viable, especially because he's expendable at this point, Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't be a bad option for the Miami Dolphins.
Jimmy G's name's going to come up with all of these teams that we talk about in the offseason and the offseason podcast. I mean, Jimmy G would be great just about anywhere. It would be an upgrade for Indy, an upgrade for Houston, an upgrade for, I don't know, you want to send him to Minnesota? I mean, the Dolphins? Oh, Drew Lock. Come on. Lou Man. Drew Lock would fit in Miami. I just feel like that's too different than Tua. But I guess Jimmy G would be too, I don't know. Yeah, but I could see it. I mean, they need something.
Well, it's not breaking the bank.
No.
He's got playoff experience, which if the Dolphins are trying to get to the playoffs, he has immense playoff experience. And realistically, I'm not asking him to do a whole lot. He's got a lot of weapons around him.
No doubt. Yep. What about a little Ryan Tannehill back to the Dolphins where he came from?
I don't know. Can you rebuild burnt bridges?
Why not? Sure. This whole world is built on forgiveness.
I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But I mean, some second chances are earned situations.
We can the Titans can package them up and send them both there. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and you just give us the farm and Waddle to boot. Titans need a wide receiver. Let's go.
Interesting take.
I mean, why not? The Titans needs, I don't know why I keep saying we, because I'm not a fan of the Titans, but Titans need speed. And if you want a running game, you want consistent quarterback play, why not? Let's make a deal.
Interesting deal. It's not one I would make a move on yet, but
that's too
in terms of adding. I'll let you go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done. I just kicking that can with some interesting ideas. I mean, everyone is the big questions that we all will get to podcast about in the coming days, weeks, months is which direction do the Titans go in? Do they retool? I think the rebuild is not necessary, honestly. And from a Jaguars fan's perspective, I don't see why you would want to blow it all up. I really don't. The defense is spectacular. I love your head coach.
And I'm glad we can agree on that because realistically, you look at the defense, they were one of the biggest strengths the team had. You look at the games the Titans were in, especially some close matchups, it was the defense given the offensive opportunities. They just never capitalized. But defense. I digress.
Sign Simmons. Let's go, Tennessee. Well, I guess you got to get a GM first.
Yeah, of course, that's probably the top priority there.
Yep.
It's hard to throw money around when you don't have a guy in place, but
Take Tua. The Dolphins rolling with Tua again is when healthy, he's okay, but it's more than risky. Man, I wrote down in my show prep 2 documented concussions in a month, and a lot of us believe that there were more.
And I believe it. The Dolphins,
dangerous.
The Dolphins are shady. The Dolphins are a shady organization, and there shouldn't be any question about that. I mean, realistically, it would be in the Dolphins' best interest to try and add some veteran experience because Tua Tagovailoa is still a work in progress. Can he progress in this league and be an elite quarterback? That is yet to be seen.
And Coach McDaniel did say in a later quote, "I'm more worried about Tua's day-to-day health than I am the 2023 season. Story's not done with Tua and the concussion protocols." Mm-mm.
But as of moving on, it would seem that, of course, we've already touched on this, where it looked like that the Broncos were going to be a realistic spot for Jim Harbaugh. That's all but gone up in flames.
It's gone. He's signed what you and I said is basically another 1 year I love you deal. And we'll see you in the next off-season session.
I think we should at least try and sell that to Michigan fans, the I love you deal shirts. I was there for the Jim Harbaugh I love you deal shirt. That's capital I think that's capital.
Oh, here's someone that Matthew Two-Tone Blue Parker loves talking about right here.
And it's going to be interesting, especially for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers has got a lot of balls up in the air, and especially some of the biggest questions that are up in the air. Are you coming back to Green Bay? Are you going to continue playing football? If you do continue playing football, for whom? So, Brad, I'll hand you the first take on this. And what do you think? Should Aaron Rodgers stay with Green Bay? Should he continue to play somewhere else? Or is retirement seeming more and more realistic?
So again, before the opinion, let's go with what I know. The GM claims that he's had good conversations with Aaron Rodgers, but that Aaron Rodgers will take his time in the offseason, which I wrote down right after that quote. We can find him and his updates, the Pat McAfee show. So if we want to keep up with Aaron Rodgers, you know where to find him. Also wrote down, what did we learn after the Week 18 loss to the Lions? Well, he denied a jersey swap. And he said, I think I'm going to have to hold on to this one. Is he giving clues? Is he messing with us like he likes to do? I don't know. I mean, I think this is going to be a case where he doesn't know. It'd be a prime candidate for the Colts. And the Colts love to just never draft a quarterback, bring in the next oldest person, waste a lot of money, and I hope you stay horrible forever, Colts.
And I mean, of course, it could be just kind of a theater-esque kind of situation. Rodgers is not going to tip his hand right now. It's more fun to keep him guessing in that kind of situation. But realistically, and I don't know if the Colts have enough money to take on that kind of cap, but I would have to say that if there was a few teams out there, realistically,
we know who they are. They're the Colts, maybe the Titans, and the Raiders.
Possibly.
But
I mean, I know this might be blasphemous to say, but I mean, the Chicago Bears got quite a bit of cap space.
That'd be so great.
That would be probably one of the best stories to leak maybe in about a decade.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so good. And then that would allow the Bears to either go ahead and draft Will Anderson, the defensive end out of Alabama, trade down and still try to draft him. I mean, I honestly don't think they're taking quarterback in the draft.
I don't think so either.
Nope.
But realistically, on a scale 1 from 10, 1 not likely, 10 absolute panic, how much panic should Green Bay be in right now heading into next year?
I don't think there should be much, because you can make an argument that they'll be just fine with Love at this point. What has he been in their system for 4 years at this time?
About 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years, and we've got youth, maybe just as strong of an arm, probably a little more mobility. I'm not sure that the Packers are worried about this, honestly.
I don't know. I mean, you can only get so lucky getting a Brett Favre and then an Aaron Rodgers falling next in line. 3 in a row is just spoiled at this point. So can Love be the next guy up if Aaron Rodgers decides to pack it up? I mean, the Packers have, if any team or franchise has had glaring success at the quarterback position in the last 2+ decades, it's more than likely Green Bay.
Green Bay. I mean, I felt that way about the Colts for a long time too. I felt like that way with Peyton Manning, and then how do you luck into luck? I was so pissed, so mad about that. But as a Jaguar fan and living right here in Tennessee with the Titans, I mean, we were going to have to deal with Manning for almost 2 decades, and then Luck. Thank goodness Luck left. Quit. We love the Colts now. We love to hate you.
You're just too fun to hate. And shout out to the 615 podcast. Lee Hill is one of our good friends. Asking a pretty good question. Could Aaron Rodgers pull a Brett Favre?
Yes, he could, and he could go to the Jets. I didn't think about that. Go to the Jets.
He could. I mean, they are looking for a quarterback. Good Lord. Just the similarities there. Hilarious.
Yes. Go to the Jets.
Get to a couple more Lee's comments. He had some pretty good ones that I wanted to get to before next segment. What are our thoughts on Titans requesting an interview for Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy for offensive coordinator?
Okay.
Well, Brad, I'll let you take this first before I give my take.
I mean, my initial thought is, who wouldn't want to interview these two? I hope that these two actually give the Titans a chance. I mean, that was just a request, right? So it's not like confirmed that they will do it. But I think that they're going to get requests from probably 20 teams, just like they should get every offseason cycle. But it doesn't mean that the Titans would ever hire them. It doesn't mean that they would ever accept it. I've heard through the grapevines that Bieniemy's not a good interview.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, how much of this is Andy Reid? Can we trust that it's Bieniemy will bring anything to the table? But I definitely think it's the right thing, and it's a smart thing to want to interview these people. I mean, I don't know that that's going to be the answer, though, here in Tennessee.
I mean, realistically, these guys have already interviewed for many other teams. Kansas City's more than likely going to give them the option if they want to go. Bieniemy, I know, had already come out and said that he's trying to focus on head coaching positions. But at this point, it's really been hard, like you said, so much speculation, whether it's people saying he's a bad interviewer, he just doesn't fit the system of what people are looking for. The players apparently don't like him in Kansas City. It's one rumor I've heard going around.
Interesting.
I mean, another one would be Andy Reid's getting all the credit for the offensive play calling. So really, they don't even know if Bieniemy's consistent enough in having a say on what gets called on the offense. So, I mean, you look at all that, and I think one thing that would benefit him is to go into another situation where he would have full control and basically make him look a little more attractive, especially in a job setting. Because let's face it, apparently you can go to the Titans, be a coordinator for at least maybe 2 to 3 years in some cases, and elevate yourself to a head coaching job.
He's probably got a faster track by doing that. I would agree. If you can come and be a successful offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans, I mean, no one's going to blame or try to exalt Mike Vrabel as being the offensive mind. So, of course, you'd get to show your true colors here. He may be showing it all along, and everybody thinks it's Andy Reid. I don't know. I tend to think it is Andy Reid myself. But, yeah, come on. Come on over here to Nashville, Tennessee. You coordinate this offense into a top 10 offense, then head coaching position will get really serious.
And I mean, with Matt Nagy's situation, you look at just how it imploded with the Chicago Bears, and realistically, I think a lot of things kind of fell in a bad place for him. I think after that playoff loss, I think that just really just kind of took a hit on everybody, and just things just digressed from that point. And that happens. I mean, sometimes when you get quick success, sometimes it just teeters off even quicker. And realistically, there's a lot of things that go into play with that. But Matt Nagy is an offensive coordinator. I don't have a problem with that. If you're judging him from what he did on the Bears because he called the offense, you got to remember, the head coach is doing everything as well. He tried micromanaging, and that doesn't work in the NFL. You know, you have to be at a high level of just perfection, kind of what Andy Reid is or what Sean McVay is at times, to have that kind of success. Some coaches try to do that, and it doesn't work. Mike Vrabel tried it, didn't work, handed the keys off to the defense. You live, you learn.
I think that makes a good coach, though, is the ability to adapt and to change. And some that would stay hard-headed and do not adapt. I mean, eventually that game gets identified and you get out relatively quick. The Jacksonville Jaguars, thank God, acknowledged that in less than 1 year and got Urban Meyer out of there. What a nightmare.
Yeah, that was... I've seen some bad hirings, but that just... that was like a soap opera 24/7 just throughout the month of October.
Yuck. Yeah.
And DDS Sports Talk, keep the quarterback carousel going, and Indy Titans fans everywhere are loving it. And I mean, eventually they got to start drafting quarterbacks at this point because it's just going to keep getting more expensive with all these trades and these buyouts.
Does anyone trust Irsay to do nothing but continuing what he's been doing, though? I mean, this guy's lost his marbles, man. He's signing his best friend, the head coach, the back end of the NFL season.
And he could potentially be the head coach before this is all said and done.
I wish. That'd be great.
And I hate saying this because it just feels like a really bad jab, but I don't know what else to say. But the fact that I'm going to make the statement, Irsay is just turning more and more into his father every year that passes. And that is like a low blow that I could just dish out. And I feel all horrible for saying it, but I don't know how else to say it.
We apologize, Dad, Mr. Irsay. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I've heard.
You know, that apple fell straight down to the bottom.
And that's where we all hope the Colts go. Let's go.
Here's hoping. Hitting our next story, of course, Lamar Jackson's got a big deal coming up, potentially with this offseason coming up, but unfortunately the writing may be on the wall. Jackson doesn't seem too happy with the way things have been going. But, of course, it's been a complicated situation when you represent yourself with the help of the Players Association. It's kind of hard to get a deal done, especially knowing that the NFL is going to try and do whatever they can from the ownership standpoint to try and pinch some pennies. Because Jackson comes into a situation where he's really not familiar with these kind of talks, maybe from what the Players Association's telling him, but it's a much harder scenario to go through. So, Brad, I mean, realistically, is it in his best interest to just try and finish this deal off with what he has with the representation of the NFLPA? Or should he just go ahead and just bite the bullet and get an agent in and try and see if this will close this thing a little closer?
I mean, my gut feeling is try to get an agent, but is he too deep into this already what is his mindset? Is he going to think that getting an agent is a defeat? Because we know all these athletes are uber competitive, and then a lot of times they don't want to admit defeat. So I think he'd be better off by getting an agent, but I don't know. I think maybe mindset won't allow him to.
I mean, that does come into play. I would especially expect that from somebody from an athletic standpoint. He's already invested this much time into it. He doesn't want to seem like, he just got kicked in the stomach trying to do this himself. But realistically, that's why you hire these guys, to do the work you're not familiar with doing. If I was in his situation and I had to handle something where I know somebody's going to try and take advantage of me, because let's face it, the NFL ownership, it's millionaires versus billionaires.
Money.
And they're going to do whatever they can to feel like they won the negotiations, but the player wants to come out on top in the press saying, look, I made this much. I'm the highest paid quarterback right now. And right now he should be. His record says it. The body of work that he's put out so far is very much respectable of him having that title right now. My biggest question is, with the one offer that he's already turned down, does he feel like the next one's just going to be the one that's going to be the yes, or is it going to be just a non-ending situation? Or does he feel at this point, maybe I should look elsewhere?
He might hope that he can look elsewhere. But as we get further into the Lamar Jackson topic here, I don't know that the Baltimore Ravens are going to allow him to look and negotiate elsewhere. I wrote down the 2019 league MVP did not travel with his team to the Cincinnati playoff game. Is that because he was injured, power hour, or is this another tactic?
I would say it's little of column A, little of column B. I don't doubt him being hurt. From what sources have said around the training facility, especially from his teammates' perspective, he was dealing with something, and there was no point in him re-aggravating it. I mean, take a lesson from RG3. He changed his tune pretty quick when everybody reminded him. He rushed him back out on the field, and that altered his trajectory of his career.
Now he's getting some heat from ex-NFL player Mike Vick. Said, look, I played football games with torn ACLs. Just put a brace on it, Lamar. When you start getting heat from players, it's starting to turn into a different story. I want to know in the chat with our listeners, is Lamar hurt, or is Lamar Jackson taking the Jalen Ramsey stance? My back hurt, coach. I can't play for the Jags anymore. And then all of a sudden his back is perfect. As soon as they ship him away to the Rams, is Lamar Jackson hurt? I want to hear from the chat.
And it's definitely interesting knowing that going into these negotiations, that the tag's probably going to be applied to him, and it's not going to be cheap either. That's going to be precisely, I think, about a $47 million tag. And from a player's standpoint, it's really a slap in the face now. It's basically them just saying, we'll deal with you when we can deal with you. This is just kind of a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
It's true. It's true. The Ravens, I wrote down, could and probably will end up using the tag come February 21st to buy them exclusive time, exclusive negotiating rights. With Lamar, as much as Lamar might want to go visit 5 or 6 other situations and teams, I don't know that the Ravens let him get out of the building. Now, they're going to play a little cat and mouse game here, little Russian roulette with that $47 million, though. Now, Lamar signs it. Baltimore, you got him. And then Lamar, he doesn't even have to sign it until week 11? So it's this is going to be another long one. I feel like this is a long-term storyline, just like the Miami and the Tua one that we touched on earlier.
It is. And I mean, this is where having agent representation would help his cause.
Agreed.
When you have somebody that has been through this experience with other players, that if the franchise tag is implemented, they can go back and say, look, you're insulting my client by placing a 1-year deal, which is basically just a Band-Aid for you to like get time and together to do whatever you need to do. This should have been done months ago, and we're just dragging this out at this point. He should be the highest paid player in the NFL, and that's what we want. If he has that representation, then I think it gets done.
So the Baltimore Ravens stance, do you believe they offered him what they thought was their 100% best deal? And with him not taking it, is that what caused them to put this on the back burner? Was in good faith we gave you our best deal, or was that just a deal in negotiations?
I think realistically that was just a deal. Everybody negotiating wants to feel like they won. The owners want to feel like they won the negotiations. The players want to feel like they won the negotiations through the press. The real thing is just coming to the real conclusion. It's just finding middle ground. Not every player is going to get paid what they want, but in some cases where Lamar Jackson's body of work over exceeds what the expectations were for him when he was drafted, and the fact that you have a 25-year-old young man that owns an NFL MVP to his name,
correct,
that gives you some pretty heavy leverage.
Yep. Did the chat have any ideas about Lamar Jackson? And is he injured? Is he doing this from a negotiation point of view?
Oh, from Lou Man's take, he says he is hurt because of the season on the line. He would have been playing, my opinion, only. From DDS Sports, Lamar is sandbagging for sure. If you're on a playoff run, you lay it on the line for your team. You plan on being part of it in the future. So right now, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B on some of the sides. Shout out to Ryan Harris of the Jump Pass podcast, by the way. Good seeing you. But, I mean, realistically, if he didn't go play, I'm not mad at him. Because realistically, the Ravens had an opportunity to get this thing done well into the summer of last year.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. The Ravens were dragging their feet for sure. And then when they finally presented a offer, is what I'm calling it. And I mean, Lamar has the right to say, nah, I'll wait. So.
And I mean, to just finish out this point, I think it's going to drag on, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I think with Lamar representing himself, you do yourself a disservice trying to fix a kitchen sink when you have no idea how basic plumbing works. That's why you get in people that understand this. Sometimes just you got to bite the bullet. Of course, you're going to have to pay a percentage fee for an agent, but realistically, it's the better option.
It is. And that's why Amy Adams Strunk has to get a GM, because she can't do it. She can't do it on her own. She's going to have to bite the bullet, spend some money on a GM, which I know they will do. But point well taken. If I need my roof fixed, I'm not going to climb up there. I'm going to hire somebody to do it.
Yeah. Experts in their field should be doing what they're good at.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson needs to be playing football, not negotiating his long-term future.
Don't disagree.
And to finish it out, guys, of course, we've got the last of the Wild Card Weekend games, Monday Night Football, tonight on 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Tom Brady riding high again with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. So, Brad, in this final matchup to seal the deal for the divisional round, who do you like and who's going to win the game?
Man, I like to start with facts first before I give opinions. all eyes will be on Dak Prescott right here. I mean, naturally, we've got the GOAT, we got Tom Brady on the other side, but eyes are on the Cowboys and Dak after they got spanked by the Washington Commanders and the general. Jerry Jones wasn't too thrilled about this in his post-game interview.
Oh, no.
No, not at all. So we got to see how the Cowboys respond. They come into this game as favorites, like hovering between 2.5, 3-point favorites. The Cowboys have O-line question marks, injury concerns. They haven't played well since their bye game. I mean, they give up a 20-something point lead to the Jags and lose. They look horrible against the Texans and barely beat a depleted Titans team. I mean, it
was a rough go for them.
It hasn't been good. But I wrote down, however, the Bucs aren't setting the world on fire either. I mean, absolutely not. They're bottom 7 in points per game. They're bottom 7 in points per play. They're bottom 12 in red zone efficiency. They're bottom 12 in third down efficiency. Offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich has to just let Brady play. Open it up. I know you want to hand it off to playoff Lenny. You're going to have to be more aggressive on first and second downs like you were against the Carolina Panthers in week 17, where we saw Mike Evans catch 3 touchdown passes. Which Tampa Bay team that's what I'm wondering, is which Tampa Bay team do we see? Are they going to be aggressive against this good defense? Are they going to try to stay conservative and wait till the fourth quarter? I think if they stay aggressive, I'm going the wrong team is favored here. The Cowboys haven't won a playoff game since 2018. They haven't won a road playoff game since 1992. And I remind the audience that these two teams have already played each other. It was the Cowboys opener where the Bucs won 19-3. I'm going Tampa 27-23. Wrong team favored.
All right. The home team is favored in Brad's eyes. And realistically, you're right on every end of the Cowboys. Once the Thanksgiving game concluded with the Giants, Dallas just hasn't really played up to their expectations really since then. If Dallas wants any kind of chance in this game, they're really going to have to control the tempo of the game. And I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to have to really just tote the rock for him. The question is, are the Cowboys going to not get in the Cowboys' way, if that makes sense? Because how many times have we seen them actually play a good game and then just basically just flush it down the toilet close to the end? But then we look at what Tom Brady's going through at this point. Tom Brady's got nothing to lose. You know, realistically, it's interesting the fact that the Bucs even got to this point with how bad they played in the middle of the season. So salvaging this year, realistically, this is an interesting game, and I think they saved the best. I think they saved the best matchup for last. In terms of just, you have theater. Experience.
It's theater. Look at this. You have America's team and the Dallas Cowboys and all of their drama. You have the GOAT, Tom Brady. Is this it? Is this the very last time that we're going to see him on our TV playing an NFL game? That's what this is. This is Monday Night Theater, man. I just think that with the spread being -2.5 to the away team, they're just trying to get bets. They're trying to get money. I think the wrong team is favored. I think Tom Brady wins this game. What is your pick? I want to hear it.
I think throughout my lifetime, in most playoff games, I've usually went for Tom Brady. It's hard to pick the Cowboys. It really is. Especially in playoff situations. And I've learned my lesson, especially like in the late 2000s and early 2010s. So you kind of learned from that. But what do I feel more confident about tonight? Do I feel more confident that Tampa's at home? Do I feel more confident that Tom Brady's under center? Do I feel more confident that Dallas actually is coming in with a healthier roster? You know, I'm going to let you on a secret, Brad.
All right.
I chose the Jaguars as an upset.
Hey, yes, sir.
I chose them as an upset because I believed in it.
And we'll get to the Jags and why you made it, because I got some thoughts on why the world may have chosen the Jaguars in an upset, but it's a glaring answer. It'll be very obvious when we get to that talking point.
I'm gonna go with my gut on this one. I'm going with my gut. I'm gonna go the Cowboys by 3.
The Cowboys.
I will go the Cowboys by 3.
Woo! That'll make Blake's household happy. The Dallas Cowboy victory, if it happens.
And get into the chat. Lou Man going Tampa Bay 27, Dallas 24. Missed the field goal. Overtime gone. Game over. Going overtime.
Oh, we haven't seen the new overtime in the playoffs, isn't it?
We haven't.
Both teams will get at least one possession. We have not seen that yet.
Okay, I like that. I like that, Lou Man. Let's get an overtime. I want to see how this goes. But as I said, I will stand by my picks. And
Lou Man was talking about that Jerry Jones might want his interview with Lamar Jackson.
Jerry Jones wants everybody to be a Cowboy. Jerry Jones can't stay out of the limelight. He's got to say something, which that's just Jerry being Jerry. I'm not mad at it.
That's why I'm hoping for a loss, because we'll get the cameras nice and close into Jerry Jones's face right after the Cowboys lose. What's going to happen to McCarthy? I think nothing should happen, but
it really shouldn't.
It's a ticking time bomb down there with that guy.
It really shouldn't, but let's be honest. Jerry Jones, he gets rid of all his good coaches. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Parcells.
You can just keep naming them.
The ones that he did fire were the yes men. You know, the Wade Phillips and the Jason Garretts of the world. But I digress. I could go all night on that, but we got to get you out to that football game, and we only got so much time to talk about football here. So let's take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, the Tennessee Titans have a glaring quarterback question, but we can't answer it all on this show. So Brad and I are going to try and discuss who we think potentially in the draft, or maybe from the Titans' backup standpoint, who could be the starter in 2023, if any. So I'm Michael Bishop with the Power. We'll be back in 30 seconds. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us once again on this Monday evening. We are part of the Titan Upload Network, so thank you for everybody watching on all our formats. And, of course, shout out to everybody that is participating in the show. Love you guys. You're the reason why this show is the way it is. We're successful because of you. So always give yourselves a round of applause, because without you, we wouldn't have anything. And shout out to Brad Newberry of Dudes Discussing Sports for joining us on the show tonight. Brad, we're having a great time with you tonight. And, of course, as always, I want to make sure you give a shout out to the fans and let them know where to find all your great content and where to watch your show.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us back again, second time here. DDS Sports Talk can be found on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. There's probably some others that Blake has done, but at DDS Sports Talk, you can find myself on Twitter at Brad_DDS Sports.
Make sure you check them out. They are always putting out some great content, and Brad has definitely had a really good week, especially with his Jaguars, which I promise we'll get to talk about that.
Let's not undersell I've had a good 7 weeks.
He's had a very good 7 weeks. We'll give him this.
I've been completely different.
He didn't want just the playoff. He wanted the 7 as well. So I guess we'll just give it to him. We'll give it to you.
We'll get there. We'll talk about
you know what? That's fair. You got Urban Meyer. I think that's a fair trade-off.
Well, you got Urban Meyer the hell out. So I feel like a new man.
Well, you had to put up with him, so I guess we'll give you the 7. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the Tennessee Titans have a lot of questions at the quarterback position, and realistically, we can't answer them all. So we've had to break this down into some segments, and the biggest question going into 2023 one of our evening debates, who could potentially be the next quarterback of the Tennessee Titans heading in to the 2023 season. But we've got to do it in a segment where we're only talking about backups and potential draft picks. So, Brad, realistically, out of the gentlemen you see, I feel are some of the realistic starters in that category. So I'll let you start and tell me who you think would be the best fit.
So we're thinking backup only. We're not talking about starters.
Oh, no, that's going to take, like I said, I'm going to have to break this down into maybe 3 or 4 segments. So
backup.
We'll talk backups. We'll start with the backups and potential draft picks.
All right, so we'll start with what we know again. We know that Malik Willis is the current backup, or is he? Because Blake would argue Josh Dobbs needs to hang around. So we can have both of their names right there as potential current backup situations. Not keeping Malik Willis would take Vrabel at this point, since John Robinson is gone. It'd take Vrabel to admit that was the bad pick, a wrong pick. So I don't know. I mean, there's that competitive edge with him. I don't know if he can just let Malik go, because then that'd be admitting a wrong. Josh Dobbs clearly outplayed him. Heck, he was 2 minutes away from winning the AFC South in Jacksonville. Other backups, I mean, I tend to lean towards not the draft for this one. Because of the Malik Willis thing. You just used a draft pick on Malik. I think that at least a top tier type quarterback is out of my mind. Now, if you want to keep doing what Parker mentions, you keep drafting a quarterback until you get one. If you want to go with that strategy, maybe. I mean, you're starting with round 3 and on. You can draft one of those. But when I hear draft, I'm automatically thinking the 11th pick or the second round pick. And I personally, but I'm not the GM of the Titans. I wouldn't have that mindset. Not in this draft. Not with what I know should be your starting quarterback next year, and with the options that are in-house with Malik and Josh Dobbs.
And I agree with that. I mean, draft-wise, you're potentially talking about having to trade up because you've got about 5 potential teams that do need a quarterback or could take a quarterback. I mean, the ones that I do have on here, Bryce Young's going to be gone, so that's obvious. CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. It would take basically just one of those guys either having a really bad combine or a really bad pro day or just some crazy video dropping maybe a day before the draft to drop their stock. And I won't say it can't happen, because clearly we've seen these things happen.
It's true.
There's a variety of reasons why quarterbacks drop in the draft. Will Levis potentially being maybe the guy that has the realistic chance of going on a free fall.
Oh my God.
Because you either really love him or you really hate him.
For our show, DDS Sports Talks purposes, I don't think that either one of my 2 co-hosts would ever want Will Levis playing for the Tennessee Titans. There's no love for Will Levis at our desk. Wish Parker was here next to me to count the ways for you. But now one strategy could be because the very first chip that has to fall is the GM. We have to get to know the GM. We got to know what the direction is with this GM. Oh, what do we got? If Josh Job starts one of those starts that Malik started, we win the AFC South. Week 18 doesn't matter. Maybe, but he was at home playing PlayStation. He wasn't on your roster back then.
And I'm sure a couple of those games he was on the Lions practice squad. So coulda, woulda, shoulda, I guess.
Yeah, I just we've got to see about.
No love for Will Levis.
No, I told you. You're gonna stir up the angry people at DDS Sports Talk.
But the funny thing is, our draft analysts from Titans Upload Network, Brian Johannes, check out his stuff, by the way. Brian's very confident that Will Levis could go potentially a high number one, maybe even number one overall, because he has the attributes. He has what most people are looking for in a franchise quarterback. You know, he has arm strength, he has durability, he has a high IQ, but realistically, it's going to come down to just if you love him or you don't love him. And we're still in the very, very eve of even getting to like realistic mock drafts. Everything else is just a he said, she said kind of thing. Well, there's nothing 100% certain. But I will say it's going to be very heavy quarterback wise in the first round. Who goes overall is going to depend on a lot of factors.
For the Titans' sake, keep it local here. GM, offensive coordinator. We know who the head coach is going to be.
Of course.
But we've got to get that direction established first. And then shows like the Power Hour, all of them on the Titans Upload Network, the DDS Sports, all these podcasts, we'll get a more clear picture over time once we know what the direction of the Tennessee Titans is. And, at this point, it's just throwing out different scenarios. My crew doesn't like Levis. I tend to think, being the outsider, not as a Jaguar fan and not of a Titans fan, I think your best option is to keep Ryan Tannehill. I mean, this team was, like I said earlier, they were 2 minutes away from winning the division with Josh Dobbs. Your defense is fantastic. I love your coach. I don't believe that now is the right time to blow it all up. But with this GM hire, maybe the GM wants to. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see.
Hey, you weren't lying. They were. There's not a lot of love for Will Levis, and I'm not advocating for Will Levis to go anywhere right now. I'm just giving hypotheticals.
Yeah,
that's all we can do right now. And yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's all I can do is shoulda, woulda, coulda right now.
At this time,
all I can do is shoulda, woulda, coulda. But damn it, I'm gonna shoulda, woulda, coulda the best that I can because I'm good at shoulda, woulda, coulda. Before I get solid odds.
Are we done with Malik? Because that's what we have. That's what the Titans have. Is it no more Malik? He is the absolute project like we thought he was when he was drafted, and you just put him to the back burner, or you just that's not even a consideration for backup anymore?
I think the biggest thing with Malik, they have to hit this offensive coordinator hire. And they need somebody that understands how to work with a quarterback properly. Todd Downing couldn't do that. You need somebody that understands that the mechanics and the basic principles of playing quarterback and what he needs to do in order to thrive and be successful in this league. You look at an Eric Bieniemy, you look at a Matt Nagy. They know how to do that. So I'm not ready to give up on Malik by any means. You invested a high third-round pick for him.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to try and see if he can do it at the next level. What I saw from him was slow progression. I never thought he should have played this year at all. I felt that he was still raw. You saw it on the field. When you've got to run sideline to sideline, but you're not gaining any yards while you're running, you're doing it wrong.
I was the only one on my show that said they should have kept Logan Woodside and then let Malik be the third. But everybody poo-pooed that idea on my show, and bye-bye goes Logan. But I don't know. I think the Titans are gonna. I honestly think, and we're not talking yet. We're not talking about starting quarterbacks, but I think there will be a new quarterback in the Tennessee Titans quarterback room.
There could be.
Maybe two. Some people in our chat think maybe two. Some don't. Some want Tannehill to stay and forget about it.
And I mean, like I said, there's plenty of time to talk about all that. Realistically, I've got to break down all this quarterback talk into maybe 3 or 4 segments because I got to stretch this offseason out somehow. Damn it.
Yes,
it's too hard to talk about all this in one shot.
We appreciate the NFL for giving us drama and storylines that will take us well into the offseason. So, yeah, we can't solve all the world's problems right now, nor do we want to.
No. Sometimes you just got to take it and just snip it out and just talk a little bit each time. It gets a little easier.
Of the draft, before we move on, of the draft, do you prefer the Titans just to hang tight where they are? Or do you think, like, not knowing who the GM is, if the power hour were the GM elect, would you like to just hang tight and just go ahead and take one? Or do you want to be aggressive and say, look, new era of Tennessee Titans football starts now, and I'm moving up?
I mean, I'd also say, what's everybody below me going to offer me to move up? Let's say one of these quarterbacks falls in my lap and somebody offers me a very enticing package.
Yeah.
Tennessee needs draft picks just as well as they need players. And you're only going to get players through the draft.
Usually. That's right. At
least with the talent that you want. So I'm not above trading down if that means I get a very enticing package to do so. Now, I'm not going to trade out of the first round, but no. I'm willing to move down maybe 6 or 7 spots if the package is worth me moving down that far.
Move down to 15, pick up some extra picks.
It's a good day.
A great day. A great night. It's always harder. I mean, I've seen the Jacksonville Jaguars want to trade down many times because they're a horrible organization and team. They want to trade down. They've wanted to trade down almost every draft and just can't do it, man. They the price was too high because the Jaguars are most often stuck with the number 1 pick for 2 years in a row, the number 3 pick, the number 5. It's just too expensive to do that. But the Titans sitting in a nice sweet spot of 11. I think it's a lot easier to trade down from that spot than it is a top 5 pick.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, draft night is always going to be a spectacle. There's always something that's going to happen. Who makes the move? There within lies the fun.
Probably not the Bears. Well, unless they want to go down. I honestly don't think the Bears are going quarterback. They're going to have to say they fall. They're going to have to say they fall in love with one, though.
Yeah,
they have to, or there's not going to be a market for them to trade down. So they'll have to. Justin Fields is going to have to not get his heart broken. It's just business.
Yeah. Realistically, it's just playing poker at this point.
That's right.
They're waiting for somebody to call, and the Bears should.
Yes, they should.
Right now, going into the offseason, nobody's in better shape than Chicago Bears in the draft and in free agency.
Now, if the Bears get what you said earlier in this podcast, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers is not going to hear them talking about drafting a quarterback.
Oh
He
my
didn't
God.
like it when Love was drafted. He won't like it. He probably won't even like it that Fields is on the same team.
No. And if that does happen, I just have a bad feeling Packers fans are going to come at me with everything they got because I spoke this into existence.
Yes.
So,
Chaos. That's what we love.
Well, I don't want chaos camping out of my door.
No, not the door, but they can bring some chaos to the chat.
Yeah, come to the chat. Don't come to my house.
Yeah, don't come to the house. We're not giving away addresses.
Yeah, this ain't Halloween. You're not getting candy in my house. We're not doing that.
Trick or treat.
No, not for me. All right, guys, we'll take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, Brad has been patient with me, and I know he wants to get to it. We're going to break down some of these games in the wildcard weekend, but of course, the game of the week, in my opinion, Jaguars and Chargers took the cake and lived up to the hype. Got to let the man get it out of his system, so hang tight for 30 seconds. We'll be right back. The Power Hour's on the air, live streaming you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. We're getting ready to wrap up Wild Card Weekend with the final game of the night, the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We will get you out to that as soon as we can, but first, it was a great week of football going into all of it, and of course, there was a lot of games and a lot of great matchups, but none better with what I felt to be the game of the week and realistically just lived up to the hype and the expectations. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. What a spectacle we watched on Saturday night. Brad, let's get your take from the game. How were you feeling going in to the 24-0 lead that the Chargers had built up? Did you feel a little anxious at some point? Did you feel like this is over? Or was there a little sliver of hope?
I'll give you my honest take, but before I give you opinions and take, I'm going to give you some facts. Trevor Lawrence started the game 5 of 18. That's good for 28%. 35 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now look, it doesn't get any worse. No. None. Absolutely pitiful. Awful. I can't even say the right words on this podcast. As bad as I've ever seen. In that moment, my wife sitting next to me, my true feeling was of calm. Wasn't standing up, wasn't walking around. I didn't even have a drink to my side. Just calm. And I'll tell you why I was calm. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars unexpectedly went from 3-7 to winning the AFC South. And for year one under Doug Peterson, that was good enough for me. Anything that was going to happen that night in the playoff game, in my mind, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered. And what ended up happening, that we'll get to in just a minute, I think maybe that matters. But even if they lost this game 50-0, I had that sense of calm because they weren't supposed to be there in my mind and in a lot of people's minds. So I was very calm in that moment, to be honest with you, when it was 24-0 and then it went to 27-0. Yuck. It was a bunch of yuck. I think Al Michaels was falling asleep. But just wanted to call it out. I'm not a homer. I mean, it's the only team that I follow and I'm a fan of. But that first half performance by Trevor Lawrence was putrid. One of the worst. Now, I guess I should include in his first half performance, thank God he got 7 points on the board, right? Going into halftime. Then we can talk about the second half later. But what were your thoughts sitting there watching this on primetime TV? The only thing that America could watch, you were forced to watch the Jacksonville Jaguars. Were you sitting there like, man, come on, the Titans could have done better than this? What were you thinking, Power Hour?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I'm watching on my phone because my kids basically own the TV. I don't have any say in that. So, I'm trying to drown out that sound, of Cocoa Melon. That being said, realistically, I'm thinking at this point, Jacksonville got here, and at this point, it's like, I guess the Chargers defense really just came out and played the game they needed to play. Could there be an upset in the works? I mean, I picked the Jaguars to win and an upset. So I'm kind of sitting there like, well, damn, I might lose out on that one.
But so behind that, because we touched on this earlier, was it just because of an AFC South thing, or was there a glaring reason why you thought the Jacksonville Jaguars could have pulled the upset off in a matchup against the Chargers?
Well, here's the thing. As much as I'm a fan of the Titans, I also take into consideration, I take what I do serious. When I talk about other teams, I want to make sure I give other people the benefit of the doubt, that I'm not just trying to be a homer. I'm trying to basically put out the perspective of what's positive from everybody else's teams and the negatives. And in the Jaguars case, I looked at it like this. Trevor Lawrence had been perfect in just about every game that he had stepped into on a Saturday night, from high school to college up until the NFL. And up until this point, reality was giving him a check. And at this point, I was like, well, I mean, it happens to the best of them. And the first thing I thought of was it kind of had that feel of where Peyton Manning played the Chargers back in the late 2000s and he threw 6 interceptions. I had that vibe. Now, they stayed in the game, which was crazy. But with Jacksonville's inexperience, I kind of felt like, well, they're still young. They're in the playoffs. It's a learning experience at this point. If anything, you learn from it. Little did I know we were going to be looking at a completely different situation in the second half.
And what, to me, is the biggest head scratcher with this, hearing opinions from local sports talk, from friends, from my DDS cohorts. The Chargers didn't have any turnovers. 0. And usually that's a big catalyst in the ability to make such a comeback. But there were none. The Jacksonville Jaguars were the beneficiary of absolutely horrible coaching on the Chargers sideline. I'm going to bring us back to the very first time you had DDS dudes discussing sports on your show. We were doing our predictions, and the Power Hour said the AFC West is overrated. The Los Angeles Chargers will flop. Brandon Staley is not that guy.
I did say that.
We didn't think that they would make the playoffs, but here they are, and they did exactly what the Power Hour said they were going to do. They were going to charger. And by God, they chargered in the worst way here in the second half.
And it has been a long time since they've chargered like that.
And I don't even know that I can blame the Mike Williams injury. Some people reference that.
I wouldn't. No, that's kind of unfair.
They were doing whatever they wanted to against the Jaguars defense in the first half. And again, we've already mentioned they didn't have any turnovers. It was just bad play calling. I think they handed the ball off to Austin Eckler like 4 times in the second half with a 20-point lead. That is inexcusable. You've got to run that clock out. You've already got the game won. It's 27-7.
Exactly.
Keep the clock going.
I mean, especially coming from a coach that's heavy on analytics. You think that in a situation like that, running the ball is basically going to be your best win scenario in that case.
And it's Austin Eckler. Yeah. It's not like I got to trust this rookie running back not to fumble the ball away. It's Austin Eckler. Come on. Bad coaching. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see the fallout from the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, it's been very quiet over there, man. The last time that they tweeted anything out it said game over. And they posted the final score of the game. They haven't said anything on their Twitter since then.
It's been quiet.
Very, very quiet. But give you some more Parker's favorite, give you some more stats. So we talked about how horrible, god awful, the worst that I've ever seen Trevor Lawrence first half. So here's Trevor Lawrence's final 5 drives of the game. 23 for 29. That's good for 79% passing. 253 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 picks. Look, I'm not saying that he's Peyton Manning. But I'm also not going to say he's a bust. I'm not going to say that the Chargers gave it away, because they didn't give it away. There were no turnovers. I'm saying the Jaguars defense allowed, because of bad play calling, they allowed to get the ball back in the hands of Trevor Lawrence too many times in the second half, and they took advantage of it.
And that's the kind of monumental game that a quarterback builds his foundational career on. Trevor Lawrence is going to be defined by this game. Not only the fact that he came out and played at an ungodly level in the second half, but also that now that this is the 3rd highest comeback game in NFL history.
It's something. It was fun. As it was happening, I saw some anger from the other sideline. Joey Bosa. I mean, this guy's lost his marbles.
He was big mad.
Oh, my God.
He was big mad.
And I don't believe it's over yet. I think he's able to maybe say some more of his true thoughts now that he's kind of away from the game's setting. But, man, they were in that guy's head all night. Between a Jacksonville Jaguar backup offensive lineman, Walker Little, something I love talking to Parker about. That's what our backup looks like. And we've seen what your backup looks like here in Tennessee. But that's not Vrabel's fault.
No.
Right? We got rid of the problem. Or I guess they got rid of the problem. They're just playing what they had in old Daly. But it's poor Joey, man. What? He can't line up right. He can't get to the quarterback as much as he wants to. He's getting punked by Walker Little of all people. I mean, it's got to keep your cool, man. This is a playoff game. One penalty like that, it extends a drive, and it ended up extending the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now the Chargers have some big decisions coming up. I believe it starts with their head coach.
And I think that's something they'll weigh on. And realistically, I think they'll save him maybe for one more year. I think they have to weigh in what he brought to the table this year. But I do think there are going to be some heads that roll, but it's going to be lower staff members. More than likely, that's probably what's going to happen.
I wonder if they start flirting with Sean Payton a little bit. Would they be willing to give the New Orleans Saints the draft capital that's going to be required to sign Sean Payton? I don't know, but I think Payton would definitely enjoy the opportunity of stepping into a situation where you have Justin Herbert at quarterback. But that's just me throwing out names. I don't know.
Well, out of all the coaching jobs that he has reached out to, Denver and Los Angeles would very much be up his alley.
Denver, I just don't know that Denver has the draft capital to do it because they gave it all to Seattle, didn't they, with the Russell Wilson deal?
Well, they did get one in return from Miami for the Bradley Chubb deal.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So they do have capital. It's just they've got a lot of things they got to fix with that first round pick. So it's a either or kind of situation.
Yep. But it was house money. That's how I'll recap my game. I was very calm the entire game. I didn't because I've got what I predicted on this show the last time you had us all on here. It was the crazy prediction show. And I said, we will have a new AFC playoff team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will not win the AFC South is what I said. But I said to everybody on the show, the key number is 9. 3-14 under Meyer and all that hot mess to get to 9 wins was going to be unlikely. But I also said, don't judge Trevor Lawrence based on the rookie season. They have ETN. ETN was back. The O-line upgraded. They have a real head coach, Mike McCoy, Jim Bob Cooter, Press Taylor. The key number to me is 9. So I don't know. Maybe I got lucky with that prediction, but I didn't think they'd win the division. I really didn't. But that's what it ended up being because the division was bad. But definitely enjoyed to see the fall of the Colts. Anyone but the Colts.
And the Colts are definitely going to have a lot of questions themselves moving forward. Realistically, you can only change out quarterbacks so long before you have to come to the decision. Might be time to get younger at that position. But to finish out this wild card weekend, that game aside, and believe me, that one you're going to hold on to that one forever. And there's always that playoff game, especially from your team that plays at a level that you're just always going to treasure that memory. And I definitely have a few of my own. So I understand that feeling, and you're going to be on cloud 9 for a little bit, no matter what happens at this point, because the Jaguars, I feel legitimately are going to be a threat for years to come, especially knowing Calvin Ridley's waiting in the mix to join you all next year.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Jacksonville, the rich is going to get richer regardless.
Seems that way. Do you want to talk about some of the other games? I have some notes on the other ones.
And I mean, there is definitely some more notes we can get to. I want to make sure we get everybody out in time for the game. So we'll get some quick recaps out there because nobody wants to sit us watching us talk. There's football going on. So I understand.
Quick. I mean, San Fran. What about the story of Brock Purdy? For goodness
Brock Purdy is a great story.
He's out there winning playoff games for the 49ers. What? He accounted for 4 touchdowns.
And the fact that his quarterback passing percentage has just been phenomenal in the last 5 games that he's played, not including this one. San Francisco has got a nice problem on their hands. They've got 3 potential quarterbacks in their lineup for next year. One of them they're still trying to develop. One of them they already have on a 1-year deal and could potentially bring back as a backup if they feel comfortable enough with Purdy. I mean, let's take this for example. What if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl? What do you do if you're San Francisco?
You forget about the Tom Brady rumors.
Yep.
Trey Lance is there. Parker loves Trey Lance. I've never been a fan of him myself, but if you win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, to me, as one individual, it's Brock Purdy. You can have Trey Lance as your backup if you want, but you totally flush the idea of Tom Brady is what I think you do.
But then again, Trey Lance, could become collateral if you wanted to move on from him.
Yeah, Trey Lance. Miami. You might want to go on down to Miami. There might be a spot for you.
Maybe Detroit.
Oh, God, they love golf this year. The Fighting Lions.
They do, but one can dream, I suppose.
Oh man, what else did we see? We saw the Buffalo Bills in a matchup, division rival, the Miami Dolphins without Tua.
And that was a close game. That was closer than I gave Miami
Boy.
credit.
We saw Miami leading late into
Buffalo
that
was sweating.
Josh Allen accounted for 3 turnovers, but Josh Allen throwing moon balls, YOLO passes, going deep to everybody. Diggs, Davis, others. So he can make up for those mistakes. Apparently, Trevor Lawrence made up for those mistakes too.
Oh,
But 34-31 over the Dolphins. Kudos to Skylar Thompson. I mean, I don't know what else you would have expected him to do. Because
give credit to Mike McDaniel.
yeah,
The man can take a quarterback and fit him into a system. Some guys just have that gift, and Mike McDaniel's one of those guys. And I was really high on him when Miami made that hire because realistically, in a league that's driven by offense, you go after the offensive guy if you got a chance to get him.
Yep. And then what did we see after that on Fox?
On Fox, we saw a really great matchup with the Vikings and the Giants. The Giants trying to break an 11-year stretch.
We saw the New York Giants go into Minnesota, and Kirk Cousins does Kirk Cousins things where he loses big games, primetime games.
Yeah.
Kudos to Coach Dable. What about Daniel Jones stepping up in this game? 301 yards passing, 78 yards rushing.
Have you a game, son? Have you a game?
Ooh.
Daniel Jones might have just signed himself a pretty lucrative contract with the Giants going forward.
To love to have the safety blanket of Saquon Barkley too. I mean, you can hand it off, you can throw a flare to him, but he doesn't have to, man. If you want to collapse down on tight ends, receivers, or even Saquon, he can run out the back door and just pick up 10 yards right there. He's not having to be a Lamar Jackson type runner, but he can be. He's pretty physical.
Sometimes it just takes the right coach and the right system, and Brian Dable, once again, one of those coaches that just built up a resume with strong offense. The Giants saw it in Buffalo and jumped on him, and that has been an investment that has paid off handsomely.
And it's my apologies to the New York Giants, any fans of the Giants, because I predicted on your show that they would be the worst team in the entire NFL. We gave that prediction on the show. We said who would be the worst. Blake said the Bears. You said the Texans. I said the Giants. Well, I was completely wrong. So good job for you and Blake being right there with it with the Bears and Texans.
Good for Lovie Smith, though.
Oh,
if you're gonna get fired when you can stick it to the boss, that just makes it even better.
I loved it. I was saying that in the chat last week. Loved it that he got a win on his way out. I believe the players did that for him too. They're like, screw it. We love Lovie. We don't care about the office.
Lovie's just so underrated. I just hate he's gotten a raw deal the last few stops he's had.
Yep. And then in the nightcap, we saw another division rivalry with the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson traveling in a night game to the Cincinnati Bengals. Kudos to Tyler Huntley. This guy may have been playing injured, and he played well enough to win the game, Power Hour.
Ravens had a shot, but unfortunately, the Bengals defense stood tall and delivered with Sam Hubbard grabbing the ball after a miscue and running it back 98 yards, a now NFL playoff record.
Hubbard. My God. I just kept, as I was watching that, I was like, please don't tell me that Mark Andrews is going to catch him, because he had a convoy with him. I just needed one of those Bengals to turn around and just knock Andrews out of the way. I thought Andrews was going to get there.
Luckily, that's just good. That's good connection and good conversation to get the job done. So shout out to the Bengals. They move on to the next round, and looking to the next rounds. Once this game is complete with the Cowboys and the Bucks, we're basically going to be looking at potentially these matchups going forward in the upcoming week. So for the next round of the divisional setup for Saturday's first game, your Jaguars will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs on NBC. So going forward and getting a quick little peek preview, your take on this matchup.
It should be that Kansas City overmatched the Jaguars here. They've had a week off. They've earned the bye. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. I don't expect the Jaguars to be anything less than maybe a 10-point underdog here. The Jaguars did play in Kansas City earlier this year, where they lost 27-17. I mean, if keeping it close is keeping it to within 2 scores, like a 14-point game, I think the Jags can do that. But I've got no expectation for a Jaguar upset here. I'm going Kansas City.
And I'm not going to try and give out my picks this week. I always do mine at the end of the week. So
too early.
I will.
That's my early lean. I haven't officially locked it in either. We'll do that later on our show.
You're the guest. You're allowed to. But my take is, I just feel like you got a pretty good offensive matchup on both sides. I think Kansas City's defense is going to have their hands full with Trevor Lawrence. So I think you're going to get a potentially good offensive showing from both teams. It's really going to be a blink and miss kind of moment. So I think this game's going to be a little bit tighter. I think realistically, Doug Peterson's good at making adjustments, especially playing teams that they've already matched up against.
Huge adjustments in a just look back to this past week. Oh my gosh.
So it's going to be
nothing.
It's going to be a matchup between the teacher and the student. Andy Reid going against one of his former offensive coordinators. I like it. Great storyline, great matchup there. Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes. You got a good offensive matchup here. I think it'll be a close one on this one, but I don't think we'll be.
I don't expect the Jags to win. Or not sitting here on a Monday night. No. And I won't be mad about it if they lose.
Respect. But then, of course, we've got another great matchup on the NFC side of things, and it'll be another division rivalry, and this one's always good. The New York Giants will go to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, 8:15 on Fox. And Philly had their number on these, so it's going to be easy to see Philly getting the nod here. But do you think the week of rest might come back and bite them?
I think the week of not playing has definitely showed itself before in previous playoff games. I think that the New York Giants, a team that has continued to play and play meaningful football, that's going to help them. I'm going to be looking at Hurts. Is he healthy? Is he healthy enough? There's a huge chance that the Giants go in and just straight up win this game. I won't give my pick, but be careful here, Eagles.
Tread lightly.
Sometimes the bye week doesn't do you any favors, and you've got a team that's, I mean, kind of just like Jacksonville. They had to win everything just to get in. So you've got these two teams, the Jaguars, the New York Giants in this case. They've had to play meaningful football all along. They're just going to try to keep doing what they're doing, keep rolling, and maybe they're going to catch the Eagles sleeping, and maybe Hurts isn't all the way healthy.
And I mean, the Eagles come in this, and they're definitely going to be one of the teams favored to win the Super Bowl this year. But I don't know what it is about the Giants. It seems like when the Giants come in and win games they're not supposed to win, they become a problem. And this tends to happen in just the weirdest points in time. So could I see the Giants getting ready to start making some kind of hot run? Sometimes you don't have to be great in the playoffs. Sometimes you just got to be hot.
Yep.
And usually that's one of the teams that ends up getting there. Could the Giants be it? They might be.
Could be.
Intriguing matchup as it is, but these two will definitely be at it, and it's never a disappointment.
A nice Saturday lineup. Sunday
Very nice.
Going to be pretty good too, especially with the starting Saturday or starting Sunday matchup. We'll get the power hour back here in just a moment, but the first matchup on Sunday will be the rematch of what we all saw with the disaster with the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals. I believe there will be a lot of pregame here. Damar Hamlin, he was not able to join his team for the game against the Dolphins. But what a story that has now come full circle. And Damar, that's just everybody thinking about the images of what they saw during that game. And then all the thoughts and prayers for this young man and defeating it and on his way to recovery. And we get to see this matchup again. Unbelievable. It will be Buffalo hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. My early lean on that is just go with the home team. I'm not going to give you a prediction. But that's going to be one heck of a game. And then the second game on Sunday, we have to see who wins this game between Tampa Bay and Dallas. I've already picked earlier in the day. I picked the Tampa Bay Bucks to win 27-23 in an upset. We'll see what happens, though. We'll definitely see what happens. As we await to get the Power Hour back on the show, my name is Bradley Newberry. You can follow me at Twitter at Brad_DDS Sports. And my little podcast that I joined my crew is at DDS Sports Talk. Can be found on YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. I appreciate Titans Upload Network and the Power Hour for having me on the show. It seems like through the chat that I am the only one that's live on the show right now. I don't know how that's possible, but let's see if I've got any other news here that we can talk about. On the first show that I did with the Power Hour, we did predictions. And we can just recap some of those. Your gracious host said that the AFC West was overrated and the Chargers will flop. We touched on it earlier. The Chargers did flop, but they got to the playoffs, and Brandon Staley is not that guy. Completely agree. He hit that nail on the head. A co-host of mine, Blake, he predicted that Tom Brady would be all in and will hoist the Lombardi trophy and go out on top with the Super Bowl win. Well, that's yet to be seen. Tampa Bay has made it to the playoffs, so he will have a chance to do exactly what Blake predicted. Myself, being the Jaguar fan, I predicted that we'd have a new AFC playoff contender in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did not predict that they would win the division. I did say that the key number in my head was 9. I thought that they would get that 9th win in what should have been a meaningless game for the Titans, where the Titans just kind of rested their players since they already had the division wrapped up. Little did we all know that game would be for the AFC South, all of it, the entire marbles. And shout out to Josh Dobbs, the Tennessee Titans defense, the Tennessee Titans special